Be a lot harder than last year because there's a better quality field, and plus there's 3 days instead of 2 this year.
It's going to be really fast. It's 4 stages in one day. I'm looking forward to the time trial. Not really looking forward to Bluff Knoll.
I'm not really looking forward to the hills, to Bluff Knoll, apart from Bluff Knoll.
Yeah, I think it was pretty nasty.
Go!
3 days of hills and heavy legs lie ahead, but for 46 cyclists, the challenge is too good to pass up. 518 kilometres through Western Australia's Great Southern, including a climb to Bluff Knoll in the Stirling Ranges. The 1994 Classic began with 5 laps of Kojonup. Then the riders headed to Broome Hill and on to Katanning, 62 kilometres east. The Great Southern to the south and east of Perth produces wheat and sheep and welcomes tourists to its wildflowers and national parks. The riders will return to Kojonup 3 days and 8 stages later after visits to Broome Hill, Katanning, Tambalup, Coangarup, Bluff Knoll and Cranbrook. Henk Vogels, at 21, is now one of the world's top road riders. He has a Commonwealth Games gold medal and last year won the Tour of Holland. Also with the AIS is Matthew White from New South Wales, who finished 4th in last year's Classic and is best known for his team time trialling and team pursuiting on the track. White finished 7th in the Commonwealth Games road race. After 2 years riding in Belgium, Victorian Darren Gowdy is back in Australia and has turned professional. Gowdy intends to race in Europe again next year. Chris Brown has recently joined the Australian Road Squad and has finished in the top 10 overall in the Exceed National Series, of which this tourer is now part. Chris won the inaugural Great Southern Classic last year. Gavin Parsonage has made a rapid rise to become WA's most successful local professional. He's a powerful sprinter who has twice been runner-up in the Australian Pro Road title. Brett Dennis is one of Australia's top time triallists. Also won gold at the Commonwealth Games after recovering from a hip dislocated on the Tour de Pont in the United States. Daniel Trini has been the most outstanding rider in WA this year, winning the majority of junior road and track medals, as well as the Open 100-kilometre title. Stage 1 of the 1994 Classic was 62 kilometres from Kojonup to Katanning via Broome Hill. Many of the 46 starters weren't expecting too much early action in the first stage of the tour, but as the pack headed for Broome Hill, some of the favourites, such as Daniel Trini, signalled their intention to claim a share of the $18,000 prize money, including $3,000 each for the top individual and top team. Then we saw the first casualty. Eddie Holland's tour chances ended on this early stage when a puncture forced him to the side of the road. He signalled for a new wheel, but the change was delayed, and by the time the WA Pursuit champ was back on the road, the leaders were well on their way to Katanning. The pace was fast, and 3 packs had formed nearing the first intermediate sprint. It was Henk Vogels who took the first prize money of the tour. By Broome Hill, the gap to the chase group was 1 minute 27, as Vogels, Trini and Davis led the breakaway group through the town. As they turned for Katanning 20 kilometres north, the wind was gusty and no longer behind them. From here on in, they had to contend with a crosswind. At the finish, it was Matthew White from New South Wales crossing first to beat WA's Gavin Parsonage. Tour favourite Henk Vogels came in third. The official time was 1 hour, 40 minutes and 48 seconds. The race leader's yellow jersey was awarded to Matthew White after the first stage of the 1994 Classic. Stage 2 was a criterium, 45 minutes plus 2 laps of a Katanning street circuit. Daniel Trini, an early casualty with a puncture, was allowed to rejoin the race after changing a wheel. The Preems gave the riders a chance to earn some extra prize money, and Brett Dennis won his share. After 45 minutes, the pressure was on for 2 final laps, and Matthew Poyner hit the line first, followed by Henk Vogels and Matthew White. The official time for the criterium was 48.06, and Matthew White's third placing was enough for him to retain the yellow jersey. The 20 kilometres back to Broome Hill was a time trial, and traditionally one of the most important stages of any tour. The riders left at 1-minute intervals in reverse order to their overall standings. It was a testing stage into the wind, and the early riders struggled to stay in touch on general classification, the accumulated time which will decide the overall placings at the end of 3 days. Chris Brown, defending his title and one of the better time trialists, missed the start by 1 minute 40, an error which all but ruled out his chances of repeating last year's Tour win. Henk Vogels rode the 20 kilometres in 26 minutes 43 seconds and won the Stage 3 time trial. Darren Gowdy was 64 seconds behind, and British rider Hilton McMurdo was third. Matthew White was unable to match Vogels' world-class time trial ability and relinquished the yellow jersey to the champion WA rider. Stage 4 was 67 kilometres south from Broome Hill to Tambalup, then east to Noangarup. The riders were given an enthusiastic farewell, but some were uncertain of the level of stamina required to cope with 4 stages in 1 day. Vogels' Maillot Jaune led the pack early, but fellow West Australian Chris Anning broke and opened up a big lead. Anning rode strongly into a solid breeze to keep in front almost into Tambalup. The pace quickened through the town, and with 43 kilometres to go, several riders made their move. Matthew White overtook the leaders, no doubt wanting front position for the intermediate sprint not far ahead. But the Sydney rider found Gavin Parsonage sprinting strongly at the line, and the local pro took the money. Close to Noangarup, Henk Vogels' yellow jersey was at the head, along with Chris Allen and Gavin Parsonage. It was Allen who found the strength to steal the lead into the town and over the line. Gavin Parsonage came in second, and Matt White took third, ahead of Vogels.
Yeah, it was pretty good. After the time trial, I thought it was going to suffer real well. Yeah, so the legs came good all the way through. Yeah.
Feeling more confident about a tough day tomorrow?
No, I think I'm going to be pretty sore tomorrow.
The legs are sore, obviously. I mean, 4 stages in 1 day is I've never done it before, but I found out today what it's like. But yeah, hopefully we can come up good tomorrow, give myself a bit of a massage tonight, and we'll be right.
Chris Allen is a West Australian who's been riding for Queensland. The official time for Stage 4 was 1 hour, 35 minutes and 48 seconds. Day 1 gave Henk Vogels the start he'd hoped for, and he led the general classification from McMurdo, Parsonage and White. His consistency over the first 4 stages earned him the right to retain the yellow jersey overnight. Day 2 of the 1994 Classic was grey with gusty winds. But the weather was not the talking point, as the riders prepared to go boldly where no peloton had gone before. 77 kilometres to a punishing hill climb up Bluff Knoll in the Stirling Ranges.
I'll catch you later.
From Noangarup, the course would take the riders south through Borden with intermediate sprints at 32 and 55 kilometres. 5 laps of the town warmed the riders up before heading out to the open road. Eight kilometres from the start, the pack allowed Chris Brown and his 18-year-old brother Tim to roll off the front. Most riders preferred to keep something in reserve for the gruelling finish, and the brothers from Perth set out to establish a big lead. As the Browns powered ahead, the rest of the pack also faced the discouraging sight of the Stirlings looming ahead in the grey sky. Chris Brown beat his brother over the line in the intermediate sprint, and 25 kilometres into the stage, they led by over 2 minutes. The rear pack were hoping the leaders would tire, but instead the brothers powered through Borden and onto the Stirling foothills. With no challenges in sight, the second sprint was also a gimme to Chris Brown, with his brother second. The pack fully expected to overhaul the leaders, but the going got tough when they turned into the Bluff Knoll Road. The steep climb made making up the leeway very hard indeed, and the higher they climbed, the tougher it got. It was a tired Chris Brown who reached the Bluff Knoll finish line first, an official 2 bike lengths ahead of his brother.
Sort of just rolled off the front and got a bit of a gap and just thought, oh yeah, we'll try this out, and paid off.
Well, I saw Hank go to the front just before that with Matt and a few others, and they decided hammering. I knew you had to be there or someone would have gone off the front.
The brothers had led by up to 5 minutes at one stage, but this was reduced to 1 minute 17 when Matthew White stormed up the winding ascent to come in third ahead of Henk Vogels and Gavin Parsonage. It was a tortuous end to a 78-kilometre race, and only 32 riders remained at the halfway point of the tour.
Thanks.
Terrible twosome. Hey? We knew Brownie was 2 minutes 30 at the bottom of the climb or something like that, and it ended up being 1:40. He must have ridden really well to stay out there all day. It's a big ride. There's a lot of guys now that are out of contention that were in contention this morning, but there's still 250 k's of racing to go, so it's not going to be a walkover from here.
The stage win was important for the 22-year-old Chris Brown, who moved to 5th on the general classification, a good result after his mishap in the time trial the previous day. Henk Vogels had done enough over the final climb to retain his yellow jersey. Having reached the top, and after the presentation and a lengthy meal break, it was time to come